Hey guys, so I met up with some Jeeps from Infidel Jeepers in Maryland. I ended up leading the group for the day. This is the first trail that we went out on. The video's been sped up just a hair at the beginning, so it's not quite so long. So this is the AOAA parking lot, and we're going to go to the west side, and I'm going to show you this trail that does not have a name that I'm aware of, so I'm just calling it Kyle's Trail because it's a trail that Kyle from Off-Road Consulting cut. So to get to the west side, you take this road from the parking lot. The other road takes you to the east side, and I think that this is probably the first video that I'm posting of the west side, of anything on the west side. So anyway, you stop here, you hook up with a crossing guard, he makes sure that everything is safe, and then you go across the road with your group. You make a immediate left turn right here. So like I've described, the north side of the park is more hilly and the south side is more flat. So you always make the left turn so you can go to the hilly area unless you want to go to the big flat area over there. So this is usually where you want to go in at. So right here where there's a big Polaris sign, it splits. So the left right here is kind of like the traditional, it's always been there. This on the right is sort of semi-new, so some people may not even know it's here. This is a blue trail. It's a pretty fun little blue trail, and you saw that we got to it in 30 seconds. So I decided, basically, since I was with some people that I hadn't ever really gone out with, and they said they kind of wanted to do kind of like blues, to just hit this trail immediately and kind of get a feel for the group to figure out, did they want to do something that was like this, or something harder, or something easier. So I thought this would be a good way to kind of warm up the day, to just to do the single trail to start with, and then kind of use this as a sounding board. So this trail is not very well beat in yet, and when I say beat in, it means that not enough Jeeps have gone over to the point to make it super obvious. There are some markers and everything that you see, like the blue markers on the trail, but unlike a lot of the older trails, it's just there's no ruts so much. This trail itself is a fairly narrow trail, as you can see, and the rocks actually get pretty aggressive in some of the different spots. Now, there are a couple different ways that you can do this trail that Kyle told me when I spoke to him about the trail, and you can actually see it when we get in here. There are two different color ribbons that are on this trail, and the colors don't really make sense, but anyway, if you see blue ribbons, which are the ribbons that were just on the screen, the blue ribbons are the blue path, like the standard normal route to take to do this trail. If you see green ribbons, that's a slightly harder path to take. And I know green's usually easier and blue's kind of harder, but for whatever reason it's the other way around. If you see green ribbons, that's another route that you can take, but it's just slightly harder. So you're going to see me do a lot of kind of aggressive three-point turns, like that three-point turn I just did right there, some of which probably is not necessary for a lot of the Jeeps, but what I've mentioned in a couple of other videos, I have 40-inch tires on my Jeep, which that's great, it makes it so I can bounce all over all these rocks and everything, but the downfall to it is, since I have 40-inch tires, they're much longer, and since they're so much longer, when you turn left or right, the back of the tire hits the frame of the Jeep. So if you have a normal Jeep and you can turn the wheel say 2 times to the right, on my Jeep I can only turn it say 1.5 times. So I have a lot less steering than any other Jeep, and there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. I can put wheel spacers on to push the wheels out to make it so they can turn just a little bit more if I really wanted to, but if I put wheel spacers on, then it adds a lot of stress to the components and everything, because the wheels are pushed that much farther out. I mean, if you know just basic physics. So I mean, I don't have backspacing problems or whatever because I have the right rims. It just really, it's just the turning is not quite as good as it would be with smaller tires, because the Jeep really wasn't designed for 40s, but you can fit them on there if you get creative. So anyway, like I was saying, so this trail was cut by Kyle and with Off-Road Consulting, and he wanted a trail that was close to the parking lot, I think, and he found this wonderful area. And I love the fact that it's so close to the parking lot, you can immediately get into some rocks and play around a little bit and really get an idea of the group that you're with on if they want to go with something a little bit harder or something a little bit easier. And you can see that there's quite a few places where it's a little bit off camber. There is no stream or anything like that. This particular area is relatively flat. There's not like any kind of steep hill climb going up or down, so it doesn't really matter which way you go into it. You can go into it either way, and I've done this trail in both directions, and in both directions it works. So you can see the big hill next to us. Like I was saying, so on this side of the park, and when I say this side, the north side of the park, then the north side of both the east and the west side has these like kind of larger hills, and you end up with like the uphill climbs and the downhill climbs and stuff. The south side, although they're on the southeast side, there's quite a few kind of cool blue trails and everything. On the southwest side of the park, which is we're on the west side of the park right now. The south is, to me, it's rather boring. It's like these big fields and stuff. So, if you want to get out of the park really fast, then try to, go to the south side of the park. If you, or you want to try to get somewhere pretty fast, try to go to the south side of the park. If you want something a little more interesting, to me, like I try to stay more on the north side of the park, on either the northeast or the northwest, because you can see like even on the left side of the hill, left side of the trail, you can see that it's going up the mountain. On the south, it's like much flatter. So this is one of the spots where I was saying there's these green ribbons on the right, and there's that big kind of hole. You can actually go down that hole and everything. Obviously, you can go anywhere you want in the park, but that is actually intended to be part of the trail on the right, and the green ribbons there are just indicating like that's a little bit more of a tougher line, and then the left side is the blue side. However, since I'm in the front kind of guiding, a lot of people, and I don't want to say this like negative or anything, but a lot of people kind of like blindly follow like the leader, kind of like lemmings. And I'm not saying that these people do that, but some people do that. And so, it's very, very important that the person near the front or at the front tries to take a lot of the easier lines and tries to do things the right way, because the people behind them a lot of times will just like kind of like zombie follow them around, or like trying to put the tires on the same rocks and trying to take the same lines and stuff. And just sometimes you end up with drivers that they're not prepared, I guess, to have to worry about thinking about tire placement and stuff. So anyway, it's a habit that I have. When I'm in the front of a group, I try to at least sort of a little bit think about like where I'm putting my tires, and sort of think a little bit about the path I'm taking, and most of the time I end up taking like bypasses. I'm not saying like bypasses that aren't part of the trail, but I end up taking like, if there's options on like easier or harder, a lot of times I end up on the easier route, just so people know that like that's like the way to go, like if they want the easier way. And everybody always knows that like if they see an obstacle they want to play on, they can play on it. So far, you can tell like I haven't really had that many problems with the trail. What you're not seeing is I had to cut the video a couple times, and I actually had to get out and kind of give some spotting or whatever behind me. So that's totally normal. So don't think that this trail like is nothing at all, because it is something. So this spot right here is, I think, the hardest spot on the trail, and it's just a matter of kind of like getting up it and around it. I don't think I use my lockers on anything on this trail at all, but like the very end of it, to me, always felt like the most difficult spot on this trail. So we're coming up on the end of the trail. So the road or trail that this tees off into is the same one that you saw that where we could have had the option to go left. It's the same exact one. So if you decide that you want to do this trail in the opposite direction, instead of making the right where we made it, you can just make the left and then just kind of go up a little bit and then make the first right. But I don't think there's any kind of sign or anything for this trail. On this side of the trail, you can see that there's no sign. You're just gonna have to look for like opening between some trees. And that's the thing at AOAA, there's a lot of trails like this where it's just like an opening between some trees, and there's not really a big sign that says, hey, there's a trail here. So the sign on the right is actually an arrow indicating how to exit the park. It's not actually a sign indicating which trail this is. So anyway, please like and subscribe. Thanks.